Instead of deporting them, let's charge them, send them to Bomana, and they serve their time, hard labor. The message is sent to the rest of the world that Papua New Guinea is a country not to be trifled with. That will send the signal. They will be afraid to come back here. What happens is that we deport them. We don't blacklist them. They go out there, they change their name, and they come back again on a different passport. And they're still running around here. I've run into a few of them.
Gal. Sorry, Oro.
No, I'm standing, so maybe he's asking. Thank you. I just wanted to add a few words to this very important debate that's going on about the work that has been undertaken by our Constitutional Law Reform Commission. Congratulations to the chairman and his team. They did visit, I believe, all provinces. I met with them in my province and had the opportunity to have a few words, discussions with your team there. And I had some concerns which I will put in writing to you in regards to the report that was presented to me in my province. But in regards to this particular debate or this session now, I just wanted to add a few words to the debates that were very lively and passionate debates that were presented by my colleagues here. I support all of what they are saying. And I take note of what the good Minister for Health has said about what he is doing in his district. And in fact, what's happening in East New Britain. And many provinces are doing their best, I understand, districts, etc. And I take note of what Governor Bird stated about a weak public sector. And it's this particular subject matter that I wanted to debate on, or make mention of, or talk about. But before I go there, in regards to the idea of a Prime Minister being elected by the people, which sounds like a great idea, I just have one concern. And that is, how do we ensure that this effort will not be hijacked by insidious, powerful forces who can then install their own Prime Minister for their interest to the detriment of the people of Papua New Guinea? This is a question that we must ask ourselves. How do we put in place mechanisms, protocols in what we are hoping to achieve so that this does not happen? This happens in many parts of the world. Even in some of the so-called powerful democracies that are always preaching to us about democracy. They are controlled by very powerful forces. Powerful forces that dictate exactly what happens in their economy and who benefits the most, etc., etc. Protects specific elitist entities and individuals. We have to be very mindful of this when we are coming to make a decision about this. We already have very powerful forces in this country, in case you don't know, that do interfere in our politics, that do fund political camps. They do, for their own interests. They invest heavily in the elections. Some of us struggle to move around in our efforts, but others have no problem because they have all the funds they need. These powerful forces with deep pockets fund their efforts, and then they have their people in here. It happens. That's what we have to guard against. If we're not careful, this can happen. You don't need an army. You don't need jet fighter planes and tanks and soldiers in uniforms to invade an economy and take ownership of that economy. It can be done in a very clever way, with insidious characters who are very learned in this space and area, and they can do it for their own purposes, for their own selfish purposes. And how do we protect our people and our future and our economy from this? Well, I can't say our economy because we hardly own it yet. Well, when the time comes when we do own it, say for instance, that effort needs to be made. But that's another debate. That's what I'm concerned about. So we must have mechanisms in place to ensure that our people's interests, our country's interests are protected from these type of characters, these insidious characters. Many who already are here many who have been the subject of many inquiries and still operate at will and whim, doing as they please, raping and plundering our economy, paying zero taxes, diversifying their businesses into so-called legitimate businesses that we unwittingly participate in without realizing, or do we? In regards to the subject of a robust public sector, we don't have a robust public sector. In fact, when there's a vote of no confidence, it's as if the whole country is involved. From Boy Market to Wanamliklik Place, the place, and inside the public sector, government departments are paralyzed. And they're all watching to see what's going on. And they're all placing their bets as if they're betting on a particular horse race that comes around every November on Tuesdays, the first of Tuesdays. So this happens too. We don't have a robust public sector. My parliamentary committee has been inquiring, or has made a few inquiries, and this is being exposed by our inquiry. And we'll continue, most recent one being an inquiry we did into the alluvial mining sector. And we found out that this sector is leaking 4 billion minimum. 4 billion kina out of this country is being stolen. Alluvial gold. And I estimate that it's the same with forestry, it's the same with fisheries. It's got nothing to do with the ministers here. It's got nothing to do with the ministers past. It's got everything to do with the fact that our public sector is not robust. Statutory organizations that were created to protect and promote PNG interests aren't doing that anymore. They're not out there enforcing the law. They're acting like mercenary entities, serving, issuing permits and licenses to whoever turns up with a bag of money. That's what's happening. And are the interests of Papua New Guineans protected? No. Otherwise, this would not be happening. This company that's operating in Mowbray Province, for instance, that has smuggled significant volumes of gold out of this country through insidious manners. And it has been exposed. But are these organizations doing anything to it? To date, they're not doing anything about it. Well, I must correct myself. I commend customs. They arrested 3 expatriates, 3 foreigners who were involved in the attempted smuggling of 20 kilos of gold. That's great. Hopefully those expatriates have been remanded at the immigration facilities in Bomana, which is where all foreigners who are charged with a criminal offense in Papua New Guinea should be detained. Because they breached their visa conditions, their visas should be cancelled and they should be put in there because they are no longer legally in the country. And they should not be accorded the Bail Act. So I commend customs for that effort. Great. Recently, 109 nationals were deported by migration. Another organization that's doing a great job too. So there's hope. There's organizations that are making an effort. But usually it's because of the leadership at the department level and at the ministerial level. But what happens when that department head is no longer there, that particular minister is no longer there? Then it crumbles because it's not a complete, robust sector. Just like what's happening in Pomio. Good Minister for Health. There's no guarantee that should someone else come and replace you, that what you've achieved there will continue. It's the same with a district, a province, an organization. This is the challenge that we are faced with. So how do we create a robust public sector that can operate despite the political happenings? I almost said shenanigans, but Speaker, you might take offense to that. But what if this political events that are taking place, it should not leak into the public sector and affect public service delivery or delivery of public services? So that's a challenge we face. And what we need to do in this 50-year reset that we are attempting to undertake is we need to look back at the last 50 years and say, okay, how do we improve? How do we improve so that we can build a robust public sector so that it functions? That every public servant is performing, serving without fear or favor, just as they're sworn to do so when they become public servants. When we did our inquiry, I was very surprised to learn that the statutory organizations, Central Bank, in this instance, MRA, SIPA, they knew about this particular company late. But this company is still operating to date. To date. That company should have all its licenses and permits immediately cancelled, because the evidence we presented at that hearing was overwhelming. It's not an allegation or allegations. These are real evidence that we've presented, or that we were presented with, that we tabled at that inquiry. That company should have immediately had its licenses revoked. Export license for gold, for instance. License for purchasing gold, for instance. And then the foreigners working in that company should be immediately dragged into migration. They should be interviewed, because they have now breached their visa conditions. Labor Department should also drag them in and interview them on the basis that they have also breached their work permits. And that those investigations, which, if conducted properly, are very simple investigations. The evidence is right there. And you can cancel their work permits, you can cancel their visas, and you can even have them prosecuted. And meanwhile, MRA has issued them tenements, exploration tenements throughout the length and breadth of this country. Hey, this company that's been smuggling gold out, we're still entertaining it. How and why are we doing this? This doesn't happen in other countries. Imagine if this was Singapore or China. Would they tolerate this? No gat, no gat through. Same day, all the arresting of the land, the company go down straight away. And they would have dealt with them on the spot. Mibla lara mol na all stop yet, na mikim kain na business or working more like, na all no busy too. Na this la passing mipla gat lo charge mol, deporting mol too, mipla must scrutinize into that area. Sorry, I'm diverting, but I must mention this. Instead of deporting them, let's charge them, send them to Bomana, and they serve their time, hard labor. The message is sent to the rest of the world that Papua New Guinea is a country not to be trifled with. That will send the signal. They will be afraid to come back here. What happens is that we deport them. We don't blacklist them. They go out there, they change their name, and they come back again on a different passport. And they're still running around here. I've run into a few of them. Lately, there was a Nigerian guy who was deported, and I was so surprised to see him. I deported that guy twice. And I read that he was here, and he had a family. How did he come into this country and have a family when he had been deported twice already? There's something wrong here. His name was Holy Moses. I mean, that's his nickname. There's nothing holy about him, but he was here, operating in a very unholy manner. And to be deported the third time, my goodness. That's what's happening. We are not taking our role seriously to protect and promote the interests of this country. The public sector is failing all of us. But we are also responsible, because we need to start scrutinizing the public sector. So this is just these are some of my comments that I'm making in regards to this, the robustness of our public sector. Well, it's not so robust, but how do we get it to be robust? I agree with, I think there was a recommendation made perhaps by Sir Puka that a committee needs to be formed to manage this process, or to get ideas and put them together and say, how do we do this? How do we get a roadmap developed as to where we want to get to? How do we get there? What are the resources required? What laws are required? New laws or amendments to existing laws, etc. And how do we get our public service to function the way it ought to function? You know, for instance, this company that I'm mentioning, and I'll mention again, instantly what should happen is that their licenses should be revoked, straight away. They should not be allowed to export gold, buy gold, or operate a business. IPA, which is famous for registering anybody. If Satan came to register a company in this country, he will be given green light, company registered, he'll do whatever he wants. And then if he's found doing something wrong and he's not supposed to be doing it, for instance, maybe he's supposed to have a warehouse in Gazelle, but instead he's operating one in Oro province, they're not going to hold him to account. What is IPA doing, for instance, in this regard? All these government organizations have fallen asleep. They're not serving Papua New Guinea or Papua New Guinean interests. And we have to look at this. We have to scrutinize what they're doing. I mean, ministers can only do so much. But holistically, as a government, as a parliament, how do we do this? We have to have a very robust public sector, so transnational criminals, who are the most dangerous criminals in the world. Because you see, a normal criminal, he might rob a bank, steal a car, whatever. His crime affects only that locality. But a transnational criminal, he steals from your economy. He steals from your future. With his necktie and briefcase, he can come into this country and make a deal and suddenly walk off with hundreds of millions. Or he could orchestrate the change of government. That's what they do. That's why they're so dangerous. And at this juncture, I want to say, side note for my good police minister, you need to revive the Transnational Crimes Investigations Unit that has become dormant for some time. Our intelligence community is hardly in existence. The strange thing about that is that as economies grow, and ours grew, and our population grew, intelligence capacities of nations are supposed to grow in tandem. Ours actually reduced. You know, in 1975, we had 150 NIO officers. Today, we have less than 30. Example. Just examples of the fact that we have a lot of work to do to build a robust public sector. So what do? I think I would suggest, or agree with the suggestion that a committee of sorts be created. Prime Minister and opposition leader nominate people from both sides, put people on this committee. This is a whole of Parliament effort that needs to be undertaken on behalf of the people of this country so that this great reset, we can all contribute and have a next 50 years that is far better than what we had. I mean, we made some achievements here and there, but there's work yet to be done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's my humble contribution. Thank you.